Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Like she said, technology being what it is, I'm just going to have to yell. If you can't hear me in the back, I don't think people are going to show up for these ones, so you can move forward. I'm Kyle Grumke. We're here to talk today about rotational grazing and using cattle in a regenerative system. A little bit of background about me. I farm with my parents and my wife. My dad is a fourth generation. I'm a fifth generation farmer on the farm that we're at. It's a Missouri Century farm. That's where we live. We live in the home place. We grow corn, soybeans, wheat, alfalfa, and then we have cattle and chickens. We farm probably about 600 acres of row crop, and then we run about 100 mama cows and do enough hay to be able to sustain them. And then our chickens, we have enough chickens to sell about 80 to 100 dozen eggs a week. So, with that, we deliberately use no-till practices, rotational grazing, cover crops. We've jumped in on the regenerative train. My dad is the one that started us there. Out of necessity, he went to no-till because my grandfather couldn't farm anymore, and he had to be able to figure out how to be able to cover the acres, and that started us down this path. Started out with no-till, moved into rotational grazing when I came back to the farm after high school full-time, and then after that I got interested in cover crops, and it just seems like once you start on one item, it just leads to the next and the next and the next, and before long you aren't doing it the way you were. So, all right. I started out with two little facts on here, and I don't know if you guys can read this, but to sum it up, for every minute of every day, there is 10.38 exactawatts of solar energy, which that's a lot of zeros of watts. That's the same amount of energy that could sustain us for 451 years at our current consumption of energy in the world. Not just this country, the world. Every minute. It's more energy than has been used and released since the Industrial Revolution. Why do I say that? As farmers, as homesteaders, if we're dealing with the land, we're in the energy business, whether you think we are or not. Everything runs off of energy. It just depends on whether we're going to be using new energy or old energy. New energy is what nature provides us with the sunlight and just the general photosynthesis processes. Old energy is fossil fuels and diesel power, frankly. So today's talk, rotational grazing, that's our tool to be able to use that new energy. How many of you all have a homestead or a farm? How many already have cattle, sheep, goats, chickens? Okay, fair amount of you guys. Is anybody already doing some form of a rotational grazing or moving your livestock around? Okay, all right. And I didn't pay attention. Who has goats? Anybody? Okay, sorry. I had goats for about 10 years. I had a herd of about 80 nannies, and they are one of the most difficult animals to deal with. So, all right. So if we're in the solar energy, how do we collect that solar energy? How many of our pastures look like that? I've got some right now that do. Is that solar panel working very good? Is it on? Or do we look like that? Granted, I mean, that's June picture comparing now, but that is our field. That is one of our pastures that's been the longest in rotating. Or that. I like that picture. This picture is off of a rented farm. Ideally, we can't rotate like we want to because it's a pasture that's a half-mile deep and probably only about 200 yards wide. And the water source is all the way at one end. So we do the best we can. Even then, that's what we're able to do. Oh, and also it's rock. You get a little off the hill, it is rock ledge. We only have about that much dirt on top of it. So, in fact, that's a lot of the grazing acres we have is rock. Because if it's not rock in our area, it's farmed. Okay, so we have farmer homestead. What do we do? You're going to hear me say context a lot because what works for me might not work for you, but the principles are the same. When I first started, I tried to copy what everyone was doing exactly, and it didn't work until I started looking at the principles and then adjusting them for what I have as far as a farm. I somewhat envy any of you guys. How many is starting out fresh? You don't have fences, or you put your fences in. You're not dealing with a farm that's been in the family for 100 years. You have established this is what we do, this is what we are dealing with. Okay, you guys are lucky in some regard. I feel like I'm lucky because I do have that history, but you're lucky because you don't have preconceived notions. This is how we've always done it. This has always been a hayfield. This is what it is going to be a hayfield. You don't have that to deal with. You have the freedom of a blank slate. I have some of that freedom. I don't others. You know, I got fences I'm not going to tear up because they're there. Fencing isn't cheap. So, context. This is when I was going to say the principles. This is 7 principles of rotational grazing according to me. This is what I keep in mind that I have to work with. If I was going to go out someplace, look at your pasture, this is going to be what I need to figure out first. So we got perimeter fence, we got water, we got forage, we got cross fence, shelter or shade, what class of livestock you're going to deal with, and then your observation skills. And these are not in order of most importance, other than maybe the first one, the perimeter fence. So we'll move on to that. Perimeter fence, you cannot have livestock on your farm until you can keep them on your farm and off of your neighbors. Because if they're on your neighbors all the time, you're not going to have very happy neighbors. We had that. There's a pasture that we control now that was just across the road from my mom and dad's that was rented when I was younger. A rabbit would have to pack a sack of lunch to get across it to eat something. It was stripped bare. The cows were out in my parents' yard eating grass more than they were in the pasture. So it makes a frustrating relationship if they're in your neighbors. And you don't want them on the road. It happens. Even with the best of fences, somebody forgets to shut a gate or a tree falls on it. It will happen. Don't think that it won't. So there's many options. You got barbed wire fencing. I don't have pictures of this because I think most people know what a standard fence is. You got barbed wire on steel posts, woven wire. That's the little square grids. You got electric fence. If you're dealing with some good money, like if you go down south to Lucas oil country, pipe fence, really pretty, but really expensive. I deal with a lot of barbed wire fences, places we rent, that's what was there already. My grandpa loved woven wire, so we have a lot of woven wire around what we own. And that woven wire is great for goats, other than if they've got horns. The squares are too big, they stick their head through, and then they're out and they're at lunch for a coyote. Electric fence. I love electric fence. We are putting in more and more perimeter fences that are electric. And I'll get into, when we get to the end, I'm going to go through some of the tools, but I like electric fences because if you're going to rotational graze, you're going to need electric fence. That is what makes it work. Portable electric fencing. And again, what type of perimeter fence you have is going to be determined by what livestock you have. If you got goats, you're going to want Berlin wall. I don't know. We had that woven wire, which it did good at keeping them in until they found out they could climb a tree and jump out, but they'd stick their heads through. So then you end up putting electric wire offset from it to keep them from getting stuck. Probably a 6-strand electric wire that's only about that high with the wires this far through with 10,000 volts in it. That'd be ideal. Okay. We've been doing some of this around where we graze stock fields. This is quick, simple. I would not want to have cattle against it all the time. That is fiberglass sucker rod post. There's as much in the ground as what is sticking out of it. And I just made an H-brace out of them. They're only about 1.25 inches. But I can pull half mile of 2-strand against that. And it makes a really nice cattle fence. If you were cross fencing on inside of your property, that'd be really great. Cross fence right inside the property, if you got sheep that are trained to it, I think that would work well. And I think it would work well with hogs if you got it low enough to the ground. It does not take a lot of electricity to turn a pig. Their bare skin is going to shock them. Let's see here. The next thing, after we got our perimeter fence, we're going to have to figure out what they need to drink. No matter what livestock you have, they got to have water. Goats and sheep have the lowest water requirements. I think I wrote down they need maybe 1 to 2 gallons a day. They do a good job of getting their moisture out of the plant that they eat. Cows in the summertime, 12 gallons in the winter, 25 to 30 gallons a day in the summer, especially if they're lactating. Pigs, 3 to 5 gallons. So you're gonna have to figure out how you get that water to them. We've got the option of ponds, and we do use a lot of ponds, and we do let the cows have the access to those ponds because we don't have a pipe out the back. If you are putting in a new pond, put a pipe out the back, put in a water, fence them out of it. Clean water is going to be so much better. In the drought of 18, I was hauling water out of a well, and I noticed the difference that clean water did to the weight gain of our calves. They probably finished out at 25 pounds heavier a calf. That doesn't sound much. Today, with what cow market is, $2 to $3 a pound, you're looking at $50 to $75 a head times 100 head. That's not chump change. So, if you're only going to have, if you're where you have rural water and you're only going to have a smaller size herd of like under 20 head, I'd probably just hook onto rural water. It's easy. You'd have a source that you don't have to worry about freezing. It's not going to run out. Yes, it's going to cost, but when you go to have a pond built, that costs too. Yeah, streams. We do have a stream runs through a property. We use it. I don't like it because they're in there muddying up a stream. I don't think that's what we're supposed to be doing as far as taking care of our habitats in our environment. But I still do it because that's what I have to work with. Like I said, water is what is the most constraining piece for our operation. I either have to pinwheel off of a pond so they can come back to it. I either have to haul water or let them have the access to streams. So I'm getting ready to work with an NRCS and develop a water delivery plan for our main pasture and that will include piped water with watering points and places to hook on with tanks. So I'm excited to do that. I think that's going to let us grow so much more with what we're doing. Because as it is, when they go back to that pond, they overgraze that area, and then they head out to the far extremities, come back, overgraze this area. It's better than it used to be, but it's still not where I want it. So, okay, we've covered perimeter fence, we've covered water. Now, do we have something for them to eat? In Missouri, we're going to have Kentucky 31 to deal with. It's a blessing and it's a curse. In the summertime, you got the endophyte in it, makes the cows hot. It cuts off the blood flow. So there's the downside that, and the plus side, it makes a great mat when it gets to be wet and muddy in March, which we didn't really have that this year. Or in the wintertime, you can stockpile it. It'll hold its feed value, and you can save on hay costs by stockpiling. It also stockpiling. So that would be, instead of haying, as you rotate it through your farm, you can either set aside a couple of paddocks, a couple of pieces of your pasture, let it grow up from August through when growing season's done. Then you're going to move into that and start slowly grazing through it, rotating through it. For us, we do some stockpiling, not as much. If our hay fields we could get to do the second graze, we'd be able to make it past January 1st before we feed hay. But as it is, we don't start feeding hay till about January 1. This year was about the 15th of January. That's a lot of savings. Maybe not this year, but when it was the drought and people were paying $100 a bale of hay, that adds up fast if you got to buy hay. And it adds up fast too. We make hay. We probably put up about 200 round bales a year for our cattle. There's an opportunity cost. If it was $100 a bale, you're looking at $20,000 you could have sold. So it costs one way or the other. This one's important. This is something that's hard for me. Most farms and ranches are overstocked, and it might not just be with cows. If you got cows, sheep, chickens, pigs, if you got different, everybody eats a little bit of something, so it adds up. You got to, going back to the context, yeah, they typically say on a set stock field, 2.5 acres in Missouri is what a cow takes up here. Well, if you got goats out there and you've got chickens and pigs too, they're eating something, so maybe what you only have is 1.5 acres, or reverse that. Maybe it's going to take you another acre to feed everything. So what do you have there? You're going to have to learn what your animal unit days is, which is what it takes for those unit of animals to eat in a day, and adjust accordingly. Oh no. Okay. You were asking about forage. How many people have broom sedge in their fields? Most of us probably. Broom sedge, another name, poverty grass. There's about a two week stretch in July that cows will actually eat it. Other than that, it is not palatable and it doesn't have nutrition. Usually what it is low phosphorus. It's been hayed out. People have hauled away the nutrients, and your pH is probably not where it needs to be. So if you have the money to look at fertility, pull a soil sample, see if you need to apply some lime, see if you need a little bit of phosphorus. Another way to solve that would be we unroll all our hay on our fields, on our pastures. We rent a lot of hay ground, 5-10 acre pasture or hay fields. Somebody bought a place, they just want it to look nice, so we hay it off, pay them some rent, we're hauling those nutrients to where we feel like it's actually going to do some good growing food. Unroll that on our fields. Our actual pastures, we do not have broom sedge in them anymore. Our hay fields, we do. So you can address fertility by unrolling hay. If you are a little bit further north, bale grazing is an option. Personally, I don't like bale grazing here. That'd be setting bales out, staggered in a checkerboard fashion, letting the cows go through them using a poly wire. We don't freeze up solid enough, in my opinion, for that. It ends up causing a lot of disruption in one area, and then you got a bare spot of weeds the next year. So the key with rotational grazing: rest, relaxation, regraze. You're going to hit a graze, take half, leave half. That's pretty much the principle I look at. You're going to take the top half or a top third, leave that bottom. That's your solar panel. If you take it all the way down, it doesn't have anything to come back from. So take half, leave half, get off. That's where our fencing comes in. They can't come back for maybe, if we're in the springtime where we got fast growth, 30 days. We hit in the summer slump, it's going to be more like 45, 50, 60 days. Adjust accordingly. Maybe you give them a bigger area when it's growing fast so you can make it through it and get everything grazed one time before it slows up. In the summertime, you're going to tighten it up a little bit. By moving through fast, you've let it grow taller. In the summertime, you're going to take it a little bit shorter. Hopefully the August rain comes, and then you're going to hit moving fast again, and it's going to grow taller again. You've got your stockpile. Wintertime, you're going to take it down a little bit lower. It's all that grow down, grow down. The main thing is you got to have adequate recovery. You want to see a pencil point come back on that leaf. If you're coming around too fast, you don't have enough feed for your livestock, it's not regrown, you're overstocked. Maybe it's time to look at what is the weak animal in my system, what didn't breed.
Okay, now this brings me to the true principle of rotational grazing, crossfit.
When we go to calving, if I can't tag the calf,
this is our main
tag
tool.
that already written in the bottom of the box.
Electric fencing
to wean, to be able to control how much or how little you're allowed to ticket for that cow to ride. I don't deal with it.
We'll talk about some tools now.
I've had a broken foot, not from cows, but I've had a broken foot before.
I like these
geared reels. This is a Stayfix brand. This reel, probably about 10 years old. One of the first ones I bought. I've had to change the guard before, but other than that, this is what it was. I love these. They're quick, easy. You hook this on to your permanent fence, electric fence. You mind holding that for me? Stretch that out. I can put up a quarter mile of this in about 10 minutes. And then when it, go ahead and turn this. It rolls up fast. But I really like the Stayfix brand geared reel, where you're moving as much as we do. Geared reel is the way to go. If you got 5 or 6 cows on maybe a 10-acre piece, well, first of all, I hope you don't have 6 cows on 10 acres. But if you got a small pasture, this is a really cheap and effective way to get started. Go to Home Depot, buy a electric cord reel. Get on the internet, go to PowerFlex, get their poly braid, not a twisted, not a what am I wanting to say? Poly rope, not a poly rope. I want a poly braid. It's going to be more expensive, but it's going to last you probably twice as long. Don't go to just a cheap Tractor Supply. If it's like that really thin yellow looking stuff, don't even waste your money. I did that at the beginning. Didn't last one season before it broke down with the UV. I've got some of this that's probably 5+ years old on a reel, and it lasts. This is going to take you a little longer, but if you got small stretches instead of quarter miles or whatever, really cost-effective way to get started. Oh, I really like these. I did not buy this. I work with a company called Understanding Ag, and they gifted some of their customers or clients really a lot of stuff. But these Gallagher reels was in that. I really like it. It's got a locking mechanism for when you go to hook it on your fence, it can't pop off. It's got a guard so that when you're reeling this up and it flips up, if it's still hot, you're not getting shocked. The only thing I don't like is their locking mechanism, I think, is pretty flimsy, and it's got a really big handle here. And I like their insulated handles. I really like them. They don't flip off. I don't like the price tag. The reel itself is about $100. I haven't bought a Stay Fix for a while. I'd say they're about 75. You can get those electric reels for under 10. So, but these are really nice reels. Portable fencing posts. If anything you get out of my talk, if you're buying fencing, don't go to Tractor Supply and buy their posts. Unless you go, unless you're getting Gallagher brand. If you're going to go and get the white plastic posts you see at MFA or at your local Orscheln's, Tractor Supply, just save your money. You'll be buying them every single year. The clips fall off or break off. They are not convenient to be able to put your twine in fast. And the spike is way too big. You get dry ground or you get into the wintertime, that spike is not going in the ground. So just save your money. Go, again, get on the internet, get an O'Brien post. Last summer, I thought I found a really good deal on O'Brien's. They looked exactly alike. I got them, and as soon as I pulled them out of the box, I knew it wasn't. This plastic is soft and pliable. When I pulled them out of the box, I was like, this is not going to last, and they didn't. I've had them one season, and about half of them don't have any clips left on them. So this is an O'Brien as well. This post here is probably 10 plus years old. Still going good. You treat them well, they'll last you. And then, let's see here. This one, I think this is a post out of PowerFlex. They're okay. They're okay. I got a box of these Gallaghers that came with the reel. I really like these. They're more expensive. I like the way that, see how this pigtail just sticks out in the back? That's curled up. These get tangled up a whole lot worse than these do when you got an armful. I also like their little bit, the spike goes in the ground easier. I don't know how well this will hold up. I can't speak to that, but I like it. There you go. That is your list of supplies. You got to have some way to control them. You got to have some way to hold up that fence, and you got to have some way to power it up. And as soon as this gets brought back up here,
that would be for a full-grown cow.
this,
What if you got calves?
like little calves,
Yeah, smaller.
they don't eat much grass. They'll learn it. They will eventually learn. They will come back to mom, and as they get taller, they're going to get shocked a few times, and they'll learn to stay. This is not for this is not for your perimeter fence. This is interior. Yeah. Or that little clip down here. That's why I like these O'Brien posts. You got all this different height sets. These ones you could do pigs, goats, cows. They're versatile. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know. This is not my computer, so. Okay, fencers. Solar powered is great. We use a lot of solar. Just make sure that you get it grounded well. If you have a problem with your fence, check your ground. or if it's touching something metal. Plug-in ones, if you have that ability, that's the best way. Did I say Cyclops, Power Mark brand? Stayfix is a good one. We have never used it, but I've heard good things. Patriot brand, I've heard is it's a fairly newer brand. I've heard good things about them. I don't know. So you can get those at your local, like Buckeye or Tractor Supply. Okay, shelter shade. My opinion, cows don't need a barn in this area. They need a windbreak. They might need shade in the summer, but frankly, I don't personally think they need a barn. As long as you can keep them out of the wind in the wintertime and get them some shade in the summertime. Now, that whether that is with some form of a movable shade or trees or something, that's what they need. While we're talking about dealing with heat, when you're picking your class of livestock, red-hided is going to run cooler than a black-hided animal. The university's got data sets after data sets on that. That's why we're moving more and more towards red Angus. Goats, they hate getting wet. They are going to want something to be able to, whether it's cedar trees or something to get out of the rain. Pigs, up in the air, whether they need shelter or not. They make a nest if they... I had a pastured pig, went through the winter, didn't have a barn. I came out one day, I thought he had just pushed a bunch of hay together, and I went to spread it out because he was in front of the gate, and I went to kick it, and all of a sudden that 300-pound hog came exploding out of that nest, and I didn't know he was in there. So, it was below freezing. He was cozy. So, do they need shelter? I don't know. Class of livestock. Most of the cows that you go to the sale barn and buy are going to be too big. For a homestead, you're going to want to look for a smaller animal. Something around that 900 to 1,000 pound cow. They eat less, they're a little safer to be around, they don't take as much to control. While we're talking about going to the sale barn, I would suggest do not go buy ones and twos at a sale barn. There's a reason they are at a sale barn in a group of 1 or 2. The other guy did not want them. They're either crazy, they don't perform, or they want to kill you probably. Find a reputable person, talk to a farmer, ask, do you know somebody that has good livestock that I'd be able to buy a heifer or a bred cow from? That'd be the best way. I really wish I could get my pictures to pull up because I've got in here, went up to the Western Farm Show in Kansas City at the Kemper Event Center. You guys know what I'm talking about? They got a little museum in there of pictures from the past American Royal shows, and they have the grand champions. If you didn't know it was a pig, you wouldn't recognize it as a pig compared to what you see at a commercial operation today, from 1940 to today. They look entirely different. Cows, same way. This guy had a grand champion bull Hereford cow. The guy is standing next to it, and he's not a giant. The top of that cow comes to here on him. Today, what's the top of a cow? Probably up here. When it was standing in the sawdust, it probably had about this much ground clearance to its belly. That animal was going to be a whole lot more efficient on grass than what these ones that, bottom of the bellies here, top of the cows here. It takes so much more feed to feed that animal and maintain it and keep it warm, keep it cool. Find a smaller class of cow. Some of these heritage breeds, the Belted Galloway, they actually, as funny as I think they look, they're not bad because they are short, they're squat, they got a barrel on top of legs. That's what you want. You want something with a big old gut to take in that forage, convert it into pounds, and not take a lot of that forage to do it. Yeah, I don't know if any of you can see that from where you're sitting. That's the Grand Champion hog. I grew up on a hog farm. That is not at all what they look like today. And there's that cow. That's a Grand Champion bull. It doesn't even come up to the guy's chest. Okay. And here is the last principle, observation. And I think if I was going to put an importance, you can have your land, you can have your fence, you can have your cows, you can do the principles, but if you're not looking, not training your eye to observe, you're not going to get anywhere. And it's going to be a learning curve. 3 years probably. That's anybody I talked to, including myself. It took about 3 years before you actually start learning. You are observing. You can see the differences of when you did something right and you did something wrong. Watch, if you give them a space, you calculate it all out, and you come out there and, oh my goodness, my cows are yelling at me. They are hungry. I didn't give them enough feed. Well, tomorrow I give them a little bit more. I come out here, my goodness, they didn't eat nearly as much as I thought. Well, tomorrow I'm going to tighten it up just a little bit. And you will learn and develop a grazer's eye. You will know when you go out there, you're going to be able to see what you have to deal with, and you'll know, okay, this is about what I need to give them. You will also take the time, and I am guilty about this, take the earbuds out, stop listening to your podcast while you're working, listen. Just stand around your cows. You'll know if something is wrong or right. Not trying to get too mystical or anything, but you will know if something is wrong or right. My parents just bought a piece across the road from them. And it has been in no-till, but it has been everything else but regenerative. Across the highway from that, which is their farm, no-till, cover crops, livestock on it. It is green. We got rye growing on this big. I stood over here and it did not feel right. You go across the road and you stand there, close your eyes, it felt right. Can't explain that, but when you start getting into where you know that you're doing it right, you can see the difference in your land, it's improving. And you stand there, you know when it feels right. If you did something wrong, you stand there and you know when it feels wrong too. Okay, I'll get off of that little topic, but that's a sidebar. But yeah, observe. We don't watch around us very much anymore. We get in our own little world. I'm as bad about this. We farm as well as graze, so a lot of times in the morning I'm like, I gotta get this fence up, get these cows moved, get onto the field, because that's where I gotta be. I'm happiest over here, but I gotta rush through it, and I sometimes don't take the time to observe. So, okay. Questions? Oh, one last thing. We were talking about perimeter fence. I love these things. This is a timeless post. They're not cheap, but you use about a third of them compared to a steel post, and you don't have insulators on them. These go into the ground to about right here where the barcode is. This would be like for an interior fence. You can either tie your wire to it or run it through it. Smooth, high tensile wire. It is an awesome post. They're flexible, so if something hits it, it's got a little give. It doesn't break off. They're not cheap, but neither is steel posts anymore either. So, okay. I'll be right back. I see something. These are the ones don't buy. I saw they had some out there. Do not buy these. It already does. See this? Clips broke off. Don't buy them. Big old spike on the end. Itty bitty foot tread. You want something you can get your foot on and stand on, and little bitty spike. Because really this post is not doing anything other than holding your wire up. If a cow wanted to go through it, they can go through it. You hit a cow with 10,000 volts, they don't want to go through it. Okay, questions? What time do I have to be wrapped up? I got 15? Okay.
perimeter fencing, I have been told that the Missouri state law is 4 strands, minimum 4 strands of barbed wire is the minimum perimeter fence reliability. Have you heard that?
What I don't know, and I don't care.
Does your insurance care when somebody's injured by
What?
a cow on the road?
Fortunately, I haven't had to find out.
I know, me too. thank
I don't
God.
know. I can't answer liability, so I don't know.
That information came from a reputable source,
It might be.
and it always makes me nervous when I see, and I have family that does perimeter fence and hot wire. It's like, oh, I'm hoping safe.
Does what now?
Hot wire for
Oh,
perimeter fence.
yeah. Probably not. That'd be my answer. Probably not. So, that's all I'm going to say on that. Because my opinions on regulation, I'm not even going to get in on
I
it.
know that,
So,
but I also don't want them to take my children's inheritance.
I understand that. I do understand that.
We have some wooded areas adjacent to the to the pasture. Is that a useful thing, or can the cows get anything out of wooded areas?
Okay, he's asking, can cows get anything out of wooded areas? Is there grass underneath that wooded areas, or is it just
Grass, but brush
just brush? Probably not.
and honeysuckle.
Well, they'd eat on the honeysuckle, yeah.
Would they?
Yeah. If you thin out the wooded area where some sun can get in there and get the underbrush cleaned up, you can get grass to grow underneath trees. But if that's not what you're wanting, I would suggest locking the cows out of the wooded area. Yeah. That'd be my opinion. But
Except for a little bit for shade.
yes, yeah, a little bit for shade. Or if they had to go in, if that's where your stream is that you're watering from or something like that. I mean, we have some of that. Haulers with trees, but that's our water source. So, all right.
For the energizers for the fence,
Uh-huh.
is there different bare minimum joules for the different animals?
Yes.
That you need so like we're planning on sheep.
Okay.
You know, sheep have the wool. You know, so it's probably gonna take more
Yeah.
power than cows.
Yeah. Like a cow, I wish I had thought to bring, I got a little fence voltmeter. I can check things, but a cow, as long as you got it above about a 3 or a 4,000 volts in it, really, if they've been trained, I've gotten by with just a dummy wire for a day or two. But, 3 to 4, that'll turn any cow.
I run Paramart
Uh-huh.
30-mile energizer,
Uh-huh.
12 volts.
Yeah.
And I run it on everything. My goats, my cows, I've had pigs. I run the same one on all of them. And
Do you know how much voltage you're getting through your fence on that?
it's probably like 12 or 15.
You got it well
It's
grounded
really
then.
hot.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like every animal respects it.
Yeah.
So,
And that's part of it. You got,
and it's the same one for each thing, so I don't have like one energizer for one animal. I can take one, put it on the other one.
Yes.
Or whatever. It doesn't matter.
I guess my rule of thumb, buy as big of an energizer as you can afford to buy. Yeah. Yeah. Because really for sheep, you want it to at least have about 6,000 volts in it with the hair coat. Goats are a special animal. No, I mean, they have hollow hair. Did you know that? Their hair is hollow and it is not conductive. That's why it takes so much more to shock through a goat. And with the way their foot is shaped, they have less of a pad area compared to sheep or cows. So they're like God's little insulated animal. So,
And your perimeter fence would do more for the predators rather than the electric. You're using this more for the cross fencing inside, just for the
electric?
Yeah.
Yes. Like I said, we've been putting up some perimeter that's 4-strand electric. But yeah, it's mainly for the cross fencing. If you think that you can fence a predator out, you're going to be mistaken. They will get in. One of the most disheartening days, I'd spent some money on some nice goats. They were out in our little weaning pasture there at the house to get used to stuff. The next day I came out there, I had to shoot about 15 goats because the coyotes they didn't even really fully kill them. They tore into them, and that was one of the worst days. as far as farming. Second worst day as far as farming would happen this spring. I was headed out with a tractor. There was a weedy patch. We're calving. Cow had her calf hid in those weeds, and I did not see it. I heard it. And that was, I came home and I sat down at the kitchen table and said, I got to go back out with the rifle. I didn't want to. So, but if you think you can fence a coyote out, you can't.
Because we mostly got coyotes and then domestic dogs.
That's the one. Honestly, coyotes never gave me as much problem other than that one time than dogs did. But yeah. But back to your fencer question, buy as big of a fencer as you can afford to buy. That's my answer. Yeah.
So your perimeter fencing that you are using collectively, is that high tensile?
Yes. Yeah. High tensile, putting a spring and a tensioner in there. Yeah.
You're using like a T-post with the plastic cover for that? On this high tensile, is that what you're doing? Just use that. Okay.
We buy, it'd be a master 6-foot post. It'd be the same height as a T-post. And this is what we've been using, or wood posts.
Okay.
That was the first little bit of electric fencing I put around a hayfield, was 4 wires on wood posts.
Okay.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You still need insulators with the wood post.
Yes. Yeah. And little tips and tricks I picked up. If you're going to put insulators on wood posts, like a hedge post, when you buy your insulators, they got nails. Throw those nails away. Go get decking screws, self-tapping decking screws. That is slick with a little impact, like a DeWalt or a Milwaukee impact driver. That goes into that hedge post slick, and they are not coming out. That is nice. Because if you've ever tried to nail a nail into a secured hedge post, you get about that far in and then you curl that nail over. So,
Drill a hole for it.
yeah. Well, if you're going to drill a hole, might as well screw a screw in. So, I don't know. Anything else anybody have?
Are you rotating the chickens too?
Not right now. That has been something on the back burner for several years, but life keeps getting in the way. So they are in a chicken house with outdoor access. And that outdoor access, by the time the season's over, is a brown yard. So, unfortunately, no. I want to get that way in the summertime because I don't like cleaning the chicken house out. So, and it makes a better egg. I can tell. We were talking about that back there with the strollers, my lovely wife. We were talking about the fact that the eggs, we can tell it's the chlorophyll has worn off inside the chickens because they're starting to get pale yellow now. Where they've been outdoors, it gets a nice dark orange color. And when you lock them up in the summertime or wintertime, it just tapers off and it's time for them to get back outside again. It's not as good of an egg. So, okay. If you guys don't have anything else, I don't either. So, I thank you, and I hope you guys enjoy your day.